All right, welcome back, everyone. We're live again for, I believe, the 6th episode of Koinos Talk Live. How's everyone doing?
Doing great.
Cool.
Awesome.
What's
We got a
up, Luke?
special guest today.
Ron,
We got a special guest today with Ron.
Nope,
Kui,
no.
your audio again,
Yeah.
man. Well, Ron, great to have you
He's like,
today.
Ron.
It's been all day. But yeah, no, we can't hear you. It's good to have you. We're glad
Thank you.
to be here. For anybody who doesn't know, Ron Hamenahem is the COO of the Koinos Group, the group and company that is building the Koinos Blockchain. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you were previously I think it was the head of design for Koinos Group, and then decided to solidify the COO role more in line with what you're actually doing. Can you give us some background on like how you came to be working with these guys? Maybe what you were doing before Koinos Group,
Sure.
and how you got where you are.
Sure. So I have a technical background, and so I met Andrew in like 2019, I think, when he was still working at Steemit, and we became friendly, and we thought the same about the space and what we wanted to do. At that point, I had my own business here in New York, doing like freelancing, like front ends, websites, and stuff like that. Just doing some work for myself. And I've always been, I have a tech background, so I've always been into crypto. And when I first found out about Bitcoin, I think it was like in 2011, I was like, this is amazing. This is incredible. Not only because I was into the technology. I think at that point I was looking for a distributed database to like host websites, because I constantly had websites that were going down, and I was like, I need a database that'll just persist even if like one goes down. So I was looking for a distributed database solution, and I just stumbled on Bitcoin, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But what really resonated with me was the way that it was executed. The selflessness, the altruism that went into Bitcoin, because whoever created Bitcoin could have very easily said, oh, this is going to be incredibly valuable, let me capitalize on this, let me create a company and have IP and close source everything. But they were like, no, we're just going to create this thing, and we're just going to give it to the world and let it be what it is, and let people do what they want with it. And I think that's extremely powerful. And to me, that's what kind of resonated. And then I was all in on crypto. I was like, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. It's going to give people freedom. It's going to give people the ability to really, with Bitcoin, it's currency, but then, Ethereum came along with like, people can hold their own currency and be in control of their own currency. If you have your private keys and you have Bitcoin, no one's taking that away from you, unless they, at gunpoint or whatever, but no one's taking that away from you.
Right.
So that really resonated with me. Anyway, fast forward, I met Andrew in 2019, and we started talking. I invested in this co-working space called Primal Base.
That's actually where I met you the first time.
Oh, right. I met you over there too. I think through Andrew, right? Andrew brought you up there.
Andrew was actually hosting a blockchain meetup, and he was head of communications already. And I think all three of us had Primal-based tokens that gave us kind of like a WeWorks access to a co-working space.
Right. I think it was a great idea, but it was poorly executed, so they went out of business. But then I met Andrew, and he would come and hang out at the co-working space, and we would go out to lunch and talk. And they're like, yeah, we need to start we want to start something. We want to do something in blockchain. So we started something called Open Orchard, and we started working on that. And then, the engineering team at Steam all quit. And he was like, hey, the engineering team quit. He's like, we should do something with them. And you're like, so we had a meeting, and we all got together, and we decided that it would be a good idea to build a brand new layer one. I think to us, it was not just, we wanted to build a blockchain because we thought that we could do it better, or we thought that the space needs another blockchain or differently. We thought we have, all five of us have values, and we have a certain belief system that I think originates with Bitcoin, the same ethos. So, and we wanted to build something that would be comparable to Bitcoin and deliver on the promise of Bitcoin. Because I think at this point, however many years we're into this, like 11 or 12 years, something was lost along the way. I think, Ethereum started out and they wanted to be the world computer, and they wanted everyone to be able to use it, to make it as accessible as possible. I think they started out with good intentions, but something gets lost along the way. I think like all the money, maybe, I don't know. We talked about it for a long time, and we decided not to do an ICO. We thought that it's not the right way to do things. We knew it was going to be the hard way, but we wanted to do it nonetheless. I think the question is, why did we want to build this thing? What motivated us to do this? And it was seeing that there's, I don't want to say that the space is broken. I think, something gets lost along the way. You start doing something and it kind of pushes you in a certain direction. We feel like the whole space has kind of been pushed in a direction where projects just raise tons and tons of money and then they deliver something later on, or we don't know if they deliver something later on. So we wanted to do it the other way around. We were like, let us build this thing. We'll put our money into it. We'll take our own personal time. And, for the first 2 years or like year and a half, no one got paid. We're still not getting paid. And, we're going to put our hearts into this, and we're going to build this. And then we're going to provide so much value that we'll figure out how to get some sort of value back. We want to build a company around the blockchain and deliver all this value to developers. But we wanted to make blockchain as accessible as possible to everyone on all levels, from developers to users. So with that in mind, we built all of these features into the blockchain that we think will allow us to deliver that. And then, once we deliver that, then there'll be value. Then we'll figure out how to make a business out of this.
Right.
So I don't know. Did that answer your question?
It did. Yeah. Thank you for all that information. If anybody is listening in and wants to chime in on the chat and share some thoughts or questions for Ron, we'll get to your questions when we see them. But yeah, so that gives us a really good idea of the ethos around Koinos and how you all came from that Bitcoin background. One of the things that, like you said, even well-intended projects don't always have the runway, or they don't carry on the original vision well. And I think a lot of that, at least in people's minds, or my mind, stems from the team, right? And questions of, can the team hold that culture? And how deeply is this embedded, or is it going to diverge just because it has to? So I guess the question here is, for the Koinos Group, how would you describe your experience working together as a team? Obviously, you said you have a shared kind of ideology, which is great. But what are your strengths as a team that you think is going to take you the long haul?
That's a good question. I think to me, it's first of all, we work really well together. There's 3 engineers, and then there's Andrew and I. And Andrew, is handling the CEO role, and then I'm trying to catch everything that's left over. So I'm doing accounting, and I'm helping with marketing. So I'm just trying to like a catch-all. And the engineering team is left to focus on engineering. We use Agile. We have daily meetings. We have 2-week sprints, and every 2 weeks, we set a goal and then we execute on that. And we've been doing that for the last 2.5 years, and it's been working really well. I think people sometimes forget that 3 engineers built this blockchain from start to finish. It's a daunting task.
Yeah.
And I think the chemistry, I kind of equate it to kind of like a band, maybe like a super rock band. And you get these 5 people, and they each bring in their own personality, and they work so well together that they create something that's, that can't be created any other way. And sometimes you take one ingredient out and it's just not the same.
Yeah.
So that being said, we really work well together. I have enormous respect for everyone on the team. I think we all share a mutual respect for each other. And we know that we're going to do whatever it takes to move this thing forward. Where I think the way that we launched the fair mining launch and not ICOing and taking in a bunch of money, I think that makes a huge difference, because for us, there's a sense of urgency to create a business around the blockchain that'll provide us with revenue and help us keep going on and on. And I think we're going to execute on that. And it's it's um it's taking us in a direction that I think we need to be going in. Um, we heavily rely on being frugal. We don't overspend. Money is not really the motive for us. It's not the motivation. The motivation is to build something that makes a difference in the world. Sounds, a little lofty, but we really want something that'll make a difference. And especially with this space, we feel like the blockchain technology has so much promise. It can deliver so much value. And we feel that we can do our small part in moving that in that direction, and making the blockchain accessible to everyone is huge for us. That's almost number one on the list for us. Let's make this thing as accessible as possible, not only to developers, but also to users. You guys talked about this in the past. You can create applications on Koinos that you can't create on other blockchains, that users can just use the application without having to jump through hoops.
Right.
I think the way that we did this and why we did this the way that we did it is going to help us in the long run. It's going to help us keep this going as long as possible. For us, we want to do this forever. All of us just want to work on Koinos forever. And then we want to build a business around that blockchain that will generate the revenue that will allow us to continually improve and be part of the community. Because we feel that the Koinos blockchain, we want it to be its own thing. We always want to be involved, but we want it to be its own thing. So I think even right now, without we don't advertise, and we only talk to people like you, and Andrew talks on Twitter a little bit. But even with that little bit, we've been able to get some really high quality engineers to develop stuff on Koinos without us asking for anything. People are just building on Koinos. So we think that's going to continue. And as the mainnet is launched and people find out about it, I think it's going to grow and grow and grow. And that's what we want. We want like a grassroots wave of engineers building stuff on top of Koinos, because they really love it. They love the user experience, the developer experience, and the experience that they can deliver to their users. And we feel like that's going to be able to carry us forward.
There's hopefully my mic is working now, right?
It is.
There is a part of, I think, Koinos and the ethos that you guys set in every bit of the community member, because from the start, the only people that were interested in Koinos were the ones that were following the same ethos. So I think there's a good carryover there, and the community's grown pretty large with almost no marketing. It's really just people behaving and kind of viewing and sharing the same ideas as the Koinos Group really is. So I think that's kind of a really amazing part about how organic the growth has really been, versus where you can see something like, I go back to Aptos a little bit, right? Their community just blew up out of nowhere because people were just trying to moon on it. But here, it's a lot of developers, a lot of people interested in the mission of Koinos. It's an interesting thing to see it grow. But I want to ask you, I know this has been talked about by Andrew a little bit. Koinos Group obviously is building the Koinos blockchain, but it's still a company. And if, say, there's a large investor looking to invest in Koinos Group, is that something that they could do?
Yes, we're going to treat Koinos Group as a traditional startup, a software company. What we want to do with Koinos Group is build the tooling and give developers an easy way to launch infrastructure and tooling, and then we want to monetize that. So the Koinos Group is a traditional startup, our main focus up until now, and I think for the very near future, is going to be the mainnet. Launching the mainnet, maintaining the mainnet. Then we're going to try and bring on more developers to build more things on top of Koinos. And I think that business, I talked about it before, that business is going to help us continually work on the Koinos blockchain while building this business that generates revenue and keeps us paying the bills and being able to do what we really want to do. I think, like you touched on it, for us, a lot of these other projects, they just pay developers. They're like, oh, we're going to pay you. We'll give you a $200,000 grant, just build stuff on top of we're going to try not to do that. We're going to try to just encourage engineers to say, hey, we're going to give you a really pleasant user experience. Come develop on our blockchain. We're going to give you these tools that other blockchains don't have. And I think that's going to work. I think more and more developers, it's going to take time. It's not going to be as fast. But our focus is delivering value. And we think that delivering value will get value. That's basically, it's actually a very simple equation. Deliver value, get value, right?
Yeah. It's probably the correct way to do things versus the other way around, where you get value somewhere or extract value from someone to deliver something, and you don't always get what you're promised. Right. There's a question in the comments here. I think it's a good one to jump into right now. Von Luton is asking here, hey, Ron, we all know things are running well and testnet works perfectly, but was there a challenging moment for Koinos Group yet, or what might be a challenging in the future? What might be challenging in the future?
There are a lot of. I'm assuming that he's asked. It's for like in a technical way, or as the developers of the blockchain. As far as technical, it's just unpredictable. You build software, and I've watched these guys build this thing, and people say it's extremely complicated. It's very, very complicated, and there are a lot of moving parts. And I'm not really sure how many lines of code there is right now, but it's a lot of lines of codes, and things go wrong. So we run into technical problems, and then we have periods of time where we're like, wow, how are we going to handle this? How are we going to fix this? Not us, the engineering team, of course. And they're like, how are we going to fix this? This is we can't go on like this. But then eventually they figure it out. And then 2-3 days later, they're like, all right, we got to fix for this. It's fixed. So there's going to be things that come up. And to us, the biggest challenge is thinking about the future and how we're going to build a company around this thing that'll allow us to continue to do this, to continue to contribute to Koinos, to continue to make it grow, to continue to reach out to people and have users onboarded, be it developers or end users. I think we're starting a company, and that's also really hard. And to us, that's the next challenge. How do we talk about Koinos in public? How do we get developers to know what we're doing? How do we get other people in the community to understand what we're doing and to come and help us? I think that's going to be the challenge. The blockchain is done. It's finished. It took a long time. It doesn't feel real sometimes, but it's done. And even we've spoke about it before. There are going to be problems.
Sure.
Things are going to pop up, but I'm super confident that the engineering team will be able to handle it. Whatever happens, the engineering team will be able to handle it. And we have a lot of help from the community. I want to give a shout out to Roman and to God, I forget. Julian. I love Julian. He's awesome. Julian and Roman, we didn't ask them to do any of this stuff. They just did it, and they're so like, even with the claiming site that Julian, we didn't even know he was working on it, and he was like, "Hey, I made this thing." We're like, "Oh, we were going to do that, but thank you." Roman created the assembly script SDK, or like, this is incredible. We would have had to do this, but they're doing it. So we hope that this continues. We, more engineers, and Julian's working on a bunch of stuff. Roman's working on a bunch of stuff. So I think it's been really good, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, all good things. We had another good question here from John Doe. Looks like Derek. He says, "I like your slow but steady approach. Yet time to market is a concern." Or is that a concern for you, with mainnet potentially luring copycats with deeper pockets and hence diluting your USP? I mean, I think this is a question we get a lot, really, where looking at the approach of Koinos Group being 3 developers, taking 2 years to get it out, which is honestly incredibly fast compared to a lot of projects in this space, but not having deep pockets to pay for marketing and getting listed on centralized exchanges, and no VC money raised and no ICO and all this. Like, what are your thoughts on the risk of copycats, or the timing and speed of things?
So I think we're almost at the finish line. Where the VC side we're handling, we're talking to VCs, and we're handling that. We do have some money. We put some money, some of our own money into the company, so we do have some money. Time to market. I don't think we're really concerned with copycats or someone coming along and delivering what we promised to deliver, either faster than us or better than us, because I think people who do that, their motivation, why they're doing it, is not the same as ours, and we think they're never going to deliver the same product that we would. People who are going to come in and just throw money and be, oh, we're going to take their code, fork it, and we're going to deliver this thing 100 times better. Why isn't there someone who did that with Bitcoin or even Ethereum? So I don't think we're concerned about that. I know everyone's anxious for mainnet, but where it's coming, I think we can't talk about a set date, because we've tried doing that, and we understand that there's things we can't predict, and we can't really pigeonhole ourselves into saying, okay, it's going to be released then, and then we're going to release something that either we release it because we said we're going to release it, and then it's not as good as we wanted to release it. So we're really taking our time. We do have runway. We have a runway. We're not going to run out of runway, but the mainnet is coming soon. It's not going to drag on and on and on. So I think to that end, we're doing fairly well. For someone to come in now and try to leapfrog us is going to be very, very difficult, even with deep pockets. Again, it's not just what you're doing and how you're doing it. It's why are you doing this? That's really, really important. At the end of the day, you might deliver something very, very quickly, but it's not going to have the same substance as the product that we're going to deliver.
We've seen some people try to copy blockchains and relaunch them, rebranded almost. It's happened quite a few times in the past, especially with Ethereum copies. They don't normally go over very well because the team that copies it, they didn't build the original code. And so it's very hard for someone to spend that amount of time. I mean, 2 years you guys spent really trying to figure it out. And along the development way, whenever there's questions being asked on Discord from other developers, Michael, Steve, they're on there and they can answer things in seconds, and they can usually get to the bottom of things very quickly. Don't think that'd be the case for most people who are just copying it. But with that said, there is a framework, so you could launch your own blockchain using the same framework as Koinos. So it's not impossible. It's just it takes a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, and also if you run into a problem, Michael, Steve, and Nathan, they immediately know what's going on. They've written every line of code. They know exactly what's going on. For someone to come in from the outside, once they run into a problem, it's going to take them a considerable amount of time to figure out what's going on. So I think that's not really an issue for us. And I really think that, and also I think people like you guys, like our community, and I think there are a lot of people like that. They get what we're doing, and they want to be part of what we're doing, not just because they want to invest in something that they think is going to be very valuable. They want to be part of something that they think makes a difference, right? So I think the grassroots way is the right way to go. It's slow. It takes time. It's frustrating us too. Sometimes we're really, really frustrated. And, also for me, not having a paycheck, it's going to be almost 3 years. We started with Andrew. Andrew and I started Open Orchard. I think it was like very end of 2019. And then very soon after, maybe like February or March, we started Koinos. So it's going to be 3 years. It's a substantial amount of time to, not have a paycheck. So there's and I think that's what other projects are missing. There's no sense of urgency. Like we have a sense of urgency. We haven't released the mainnet because we really want to release a good product, but we're going to release it without a sense of urgency. Let's say we ICO'd and raised $100 million and everyone is living comfortably. Maybe it takes 5 years to launch this thing, which is exactly what other projects are doing, So I think it's kind of helping us.
And so mainnet's going to come out soon, but for 2023, what's the plan? What's the ideas that are in play in the pipeline to better provide services for developers, for improving Koinos as an ecosystem? What are the plans that Koinos Group is kind of putting in play there?
So I think our main goal for 2023 is going to be to build our product, to build a suite of services that allow developers to quickly execute on their vision, and to give them a whole suite of not only tools that help them develop, but also let them launch infrastructure very quickly. And it's not a brand new idea. A lot of open source projects, like let's say when it comes to like MySQL and picking databases, MySQL or MongoDB, they've been able to build substantial businesses around an open source software. So that's what we want to do. We want to deliver that experience to developers that'll make their life so easy. They'll say, hey, no problem. We'll pay you a monthly fee, whatever that is, and we can make their life easier. And then the other thing is we want to onboard as many developers building decentralized applications as possible and helping them along. We genuinely, with what you guys are doing, we think is amazing. And what the guys at CoinDX are doing, Von Luton, is amazing. So we want to be there. We want to help you guys. The sooner people get in, the more access they have to us. Because right now, it's really easy to get to us. You can get to me or to Andrew, no problem. And then to get to the engineers, it's like one step from us. So we're very accessible right now. So that's what we want to do. We want engineers to come to us and say, hey, this is our ideas. We need help with this. We think, and then that can also go into our product. If we hear from you guys that, oh, this feature would be extremely helpful to us, then we might be able to build that into our product. So that's kind of the next step. There's probably going to be some time that we're going to have to take to work on the blockchain. Once we release it, things happen that we didn't think about. So there's going to be a set of time. But our focus is to get Koinos Group kind of in 2023 to get kind of Koinos Group off the ground.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So getting it off the ground, I'm assuming that entails getting some outside funding, starting taking some salaries, doing some hiring, all the usual startup things when you're kind of hitting your stride.
Exactly. Yeah. And then also, once we get Koinos Group off the ground and we have investors or we start generating revenue, whichever way we get funding, we can also take some of that and divert it into promoting the Koinos ecosystem, helping out, other dApps that are building on the Koinos ecosystem, and diverting some funds to that, while building the product. We think that the product can make a difference. It can help the main chain because, again, accessibility, making it, to me, TypeScript is huge. Having TypeScript support is huge. And, I have a front end background. I can do some JavaScript. I could probably figure out TypeScript. I think there are millions of people like me. I have no way. I'm not very proficient in C++, or even Go for that matter. So writing smart contracts up until now was really out of reach for me. There are other projects that use JavaScript for smart contracts, and I've tried using them before, but it's been completely out of reach for me. So getting people like me on board who can do front end, I can do front end all day long, but the back end is a little bit more of a challenge for me. But getting those people, to write a TypeScript smart contract is not that far away from writing, like a simple Node app or something like that. So we think bringing those people in, giving them the tooling and the infrastructure to be able to create dApps with the knowledge they already have, I think is going to be huge. I think it's going to be tremendously huge. So I think focusing on that, building that out for the next year, I think might be good for us.
Very cool.
Absolutely. Let's see here. I think we got one more question in the chat. By the way, John Doe here, who's actually Von Luton. Thanks for answering, Ron. Very interesting answers.
Anytime.
So one from the Discord chat. How has using Agile for developing this blockchain differentiated Koinos devs from previous projects you've worked on? Also, is the methodology ingrained in the blockchain and the smart contracts so that new devs coming into the ecosystem also follow this set of practices?
So the first part of the question, for us, it made a huge difference. We feel like it worked really great for us. And I'm also a huge proponent of planning and executing in small chunks. So it really helped us plan, execute, not plan too far ahead, know what we want to do, but then helped us to pivot. A lot of times there were features or there was a direction that we wanted to go in that we didn't consider initially. And then we were able to say, okay, I think something like maybe using Google's protocol buffers. Initially, we weren't doing that. We wrote our own type systems. The guys wrote their own type systems. And I think it was Julian who suggested, he was like, well, why aren't you guys using protobufs? And we're like, no, because we wanted to write. And then I think Steve took a look at it. He was like, this makes sense. We should be doing this. So we were able to say, okay, we're gonna fold in protobufs. And that was immensely helpful for us. So I think without Agile, we might not do this. Without Agile, we have a rigid plan that we're following the whole way through. And then without Agile, we're not doing that. So to us, I think it was hands down the single most helpful thing for a tiny little team. I think it was very, very helpful. Without that, I don't think we were able to execute on this.
Very much so, yeah.
In this time frame. And then for other teams, we highly encourage other teams to use Agile. I don't think we built anything into the protocol that would force anyone to use Agile. But if people approach us and ask us for help, the first thing we say to them is like, look into Agile, implement that. It's going to help you execute. And I don't remember the last part of the question.
That was the last part of the question, really. So, I mean, thank you for coming on the show and sharing all these thoughts. A lot of people are interested in the token, but they should really get to know the team behind the token as well, especially since, actually, I don't think we said this, but the entire team they're all based in the USA. So you have an all-American team, and you can get to know everyone on their LinkedIn profiles, and you can actually see everybody's faces. That's a great thing compared to other projects where sometimes you don't even know who they are, and they just rug pull you because they disappear off the face of the earth. With that said, we're coming up on time. Ron, do you have any closing thoughts that you want to share with us?
first of all, I want to thank you guys for doing this and for doing everything else that you're doing. We really appreciate all of you guys. I'm not as active in Discord and Telegram, but I read almost everything. And we really, really appreciate what you guys are doing. And you're really helping us because we can't do everything. We can only do so much. There's only so much time in the day. And without you guys, I think we probably wouldn't be where we are. So thank you very much.
Happy to help.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And we're going to have another show. We're trying to schedule 2 more shows. And in fact, I'm in the middle of scheduling the entire engineering team on the show. So if you guys are watching, stay tuned for that. Follow my YouTube page, follow Luke, follow Ron up on Twitter. You can find their information on Koinos.io. And obviously, if you're watching the show here, that you have the link already. But we'll get the entire engineering team on Koinos, from Koinos onto the show. That way we can kind of get more technical questions out there. But thank you again, and thank you the entire community for this. And with that said, I hope you guys stay tuned or tune in for the next episode. Goodbye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. See you.